Hello, everyone. My name is Rosi S Phillips, and I'm a published author. I publish on Literotica and Amazon.com and a few other places. So, Alex sent me some questions that he would like me to answer, and I'm going to answer them. If you'll notice from my accent, I am American, so I'm going to try to speak as slowly and clearly as possible. But if you can't understand me for any reason and you want clarification on what I said, you can ask me a question over Twitter and tweet me. It's Rosi S Phillips. Yes. Or you can email me and I'll give Alex my email. I also have a Facebook that you can also connect with me on. So let's jump into those questions. First question. How did you come across Literotica and how did you begin using it? So, I think I was in middle school or high school, and we were reading a book about um, a boy and his mother and some other characters. And in the book, there was some incest, but I had no clue what that was. And I decided to look up the word incest. And I came across this weird story on Literotica, and I thought, huh, that's interesting. Um, but what's this site? And I sort of hopped around Literotica, seeing sort of what was posted there, and wondering if it was all sort of interesting work. Let me use that word. But I did find some really, really great authors, specifically Jazz Cullen and Amy Monaco. They are my favorite Literotica writers. I continually read their work, and they really, really inspired me to start posting my stories on Literotica. Before them, I really only wrote in a little red journal thing. Um, so I decided to publish online. My first book, Lunar Dance, um, got really, really good reviews. A lot of people liked it. And now that I look back on it, all I can think is, wow, this is awful. But it was 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not sure right now. And I was still in high school, and I was still pretty young. But now I've gotten a lot more comfortable writing. So that's sort of how I became a writer on Literotica and the reasons why. So the other platforms I've used to publish my writing. I use Amazon.com, Barnes& Noble, a lot of the big ones that are online I use. And then I also use Writers.com, Meba.com, Wattpad, Figment.com, Writers Cafe, Booksy, and WeBooks. Those are my main places. I think I have around 8 or so that I update pretty regularly, but I'd have to check those numbers. And how do I benefit from this? And what aims do I undertake? So I get a lot of people reading my work, and that's my main focus. I really want to get as many people as I can to read my work and give me feedback on it. So it's a lot of work doing it though. Certain sites have certain ways for you to post. Some only take Word documents. Some only allow you to put in plain text. So you might have to decide if you want to keep your italics and manually go back and insert your italics or not. Um, so the next question is, how did you benefit from that? Oh, I just read that, sorry. How do you feel about sharing your work for free? I think it's great. I love it. I get a lot of feedback, and I've been able to get a lot of opportunities. If I didn't share my work for free, I wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't have published my book through my publisher, eBook Publishing World, which is an ebook publisher. Um, I wouldn't have met a lot of the great people I know. Um, Jazz Cullen, I've done interviews with her, as well as JJ, um, a bunch of other authors, Lizzie Ashworth. I know some really great self-published authors, and they're absolutely fantastic. And I wouldn't know them had I not decided to have my work for free and make it free. Which writers most affect your own work? There's Janine Frost, who did the Night Hunter series. Love that series. Janet Ivanovich, um, who most of you probably know or have heard of. She did One for the Money, the Stephanie Plum novels. Then there's Christine Feehan, who did the Carpathian series. A lot of my favorite authors do series, so it's a trend. But the number one author who's really, really inspired me is Karen Marie Moning. She has done the Fever series, and I am just over the moon about the series. It's really shaped me into the writer I am. I loved her characters. I loved her plot. I just loved everything about it. I highly advise everyone to check her out. So now I'm going to read you a bit from my work. I'm going to read you two different things. One is from my new series. It's the Peaches series. And I can give you some more information about Peaches a little bit later. And then the next excerpt I'm going to read is from my Grim Love series. The excerpt from my Peaches series is from the second book. There are 4 books in the series, and they are all currently published on Amazon. Yes. So in the second book, she is trying to figure out if she's a werewolf. So the title is, Could I Be a Werewolf? And it's all about sort of her discovering herself and going through these different stages to try and discover what she is and really who she is. So let me just set the setting for you. She is with her husband, Bane, and their 3 friends, Samantha, who is a witch, Luther, who is a vampire, and Casper, who is a vampire. They're going to the Feehan Pack to talk with the Alpha and see if she's a werewolf. So let me just jump in. Whew. Before I could even take one step, a pack of werewolves came charging out of nowhere at us. I gawked at the sleek animals at least twice the size of normal wolves. I hate to say it, given how unreliable movies and books have been for me, but these things seriously looked exactly like I imagined werewolves. Of course, fear and panic shot through me a second later. I could deal with dogs, pet them on occasion, but become one? Nuh-uh. Not in this lifetime. What was I thinking? Werewolf. Why couldn't I be a werepony? I I liked ponies. I was reverting back to my 6-year-old years, but Bane snapped me out of it. Peaches. His voice was in my head again, and for once I wasn't annoyed by it. Ground rules. I mentally snorted and physically rolled my eyes. Yeah, 'cause that worked so well last time. I watched his eyes flicker to me. Well, at least listen to this one. Kneel. The wolves were almost near us, but I was a tad bit more focused on Bane. Kneel? Do I look like a girl who gets down on her knees? Don't answer that. It's a wolf thing. I watched Bane get down on one knee and face the animals coming toward us. I can't help you out with this one, Habibi. And I can't force you. Kneel, or they'll consider you a threat. I felt my knees give out as if my body was saying, Screw you, I ain't dying today. I watched the wolves close in around us, circle, and then tighten until I smelled dog breath. Yeah, okay, I was freaked out. Even more than I had been at the vampire party. At least vampires looked like humans. But werewolves? Whoever said that you could see humanity in something's eyes obviously had never looked at a werewolf. Guess what? They looked like wolf eyes. I tried not to freak out more. Couldn't animals smell fear? I must have reeked of it. Took a bath and owed to scare for my life. All the rage in Peaches' head and brought to you by the verb fuck and the pronoun me. I was talking to myself in third person again. I really needed to stop that. I watched a black and gray wolf break away from the pack and come toward us. I thanked my lucky stars that I'd gone to the bathroom at the rest stop, because I was pretty sure I would have peed myself. Would peeing make me less appetizing? Maybe it would. I tried really hard to pee myself. All three vampires were suddenly in my mind screaming the same thing. Do not pee yourself! Luckily for them, I couldn't. The wolf sniffed everyone and then came to me, singling me out. Bane was still on his knee, head lowered slightly, but his eyes followed the large wolf's trail. The wolf regarded me curiously. How did one greet a werewolf? I wasn't sure. I had no clue what the proper etiquette was, so I fell back on my many years of Animal Planet watching. I held out my hand, palm up, and forced myself to stop shaking. There's a good boy, I whispered cooed. The wolf looked at me, then at my hand, then up to me, then back to my hand. He opened his mouth and snapped at me. I snatched my hand back so quick it pounded into my chest and sent me back. Man, screw this, I whispered vehemently as I turned and crawled away as fast as I could. Let Bane and his little group get eaten by wolves. I wasn't an idiot. I take bat poop over getting eaten by a pack of wolves every day of the week. I'd even take a bat pooping on my face over that. I felt a slight breeze and then heard a deep male laugh. I looked over my shoulder briefly as I crawled away, but my neck got stuck and I tripped and ate some dirt and flowers. Stupid Peaches and stupid, sexy werewolf man. I wiped away the mess from my face and turned to look at the naked giant in front of me. Bane was hands down the hottest man I'd ever seen, but this guy? He was the devil incarnate. Tanned muscles, wavy hair, hazel eyes. If I was going to tempt people to sin, I'd make sure I looked like this guy. He smiled at me, and I swear I had a mini heart attack. Catch me, I'm going to swoon. Peaches, Bane growled warningly in my mind. He didn't make a move toward me, so I let my thoughts linger a second on Mr. Sin Incarnate before I snapped back to myself. I pushed my hair out of my face and glared up at the man. Desire was still burning a hole through my panties, but anger and fear were burning a hole through my gut. Or was that just hunger? Damn, I was starving. Who are you? I demanded. First words, last words. Here lies Peaches, the unknown girl. She was last seen sassing a werewolf who had rippling abs and a long, thick Bane was in front of me, his hand tight on my chin, tilting my head up. His eyes were even redder now. Think it. Was there a word worse than angry? I'm pretty sure there was. Bane was about 9 notches above that word. I dare you. I dared me too, but before we could have another fight, the naked werewolf laughed. God, even his laugh was toes-curling sexy. Bane's eyes narrowed at me, but he turned his head to look at the man and gave the barest of nods. Alpha. So, that was Peaches. Just a little backstory. It's all about this girl, Georgia Peaches Kent. Peaches is her nickname. She wakes up in a morgue and she's like, am I dead? Am I not dead? Am I a vampire because I'm dead? What am I? And the story follows her through 4 books. The first book is So I'm Not a Vampire? And it's all about her trying to find out if she's a vampire. The second book, which I just read for you, is Could I Be a Werewolf? And it's all about, you guessed it, her figuring out if she's a werewolf. The third book is Think She's a Zombie? Or She Thinks She's a... I can't remember the title. I've written a lot of them and they sort of blend together. The last book is I'm a What? So it follows Peaches on this journey through self-discovery, and really that's the main focus of the book. It's about trying to find out what she is, but also who she is. So you can look those up on Amazon. They all are on the Amazon UK, yes. I had to think about that one. Okay, so let me read you from my Grim Love book, which I love. It's a 3-part series, of which I've only written the first book, much to a lot of people's anger and disappointment. The first book is a title that I'm blanking on. Can't Fight Time. The second book is Can't Fight Fate. And the third book is Can't Stand Alone. Alright, so I'm going to read you a very, very small portion from that book. So the first book, Nina meets Grim, and he's a Grim Reaper. She's like, oh my god, I'm going to die, because she meets a Grim Reaper. And so his brother, Uriel, takes her to the Reaper underworld, where she's able to live and sort of be human a little bit longer. And that's really how the story goes. She falls in love with Grim, whose real name I can't pronounce even though I wrote it. It's really very funny. So he's nicknamed Grim. I'm just going to read you a little bitty part. Nina's talking with Grimm's father, Tunni. Um, let's just jump in. All right, Tunni. Nina took his arm and they began to stroll down the hall. She could feel the barely leashed power under his skin, moving faster than the blood in her veins. Are you really okay with me marrying Grimm? She asked, curious about his position on the issue. Tunni patted her hand and turned a corner. A sudden burst of wind sent them flying down the corridor. Like they took one large step, the transition was seamless. Then they were turning another corner. My mind flickers like a flame on a wick. Answers come to questions unasked, and I am nearly dead. Tunni's voice sounded far away, in another world. Nina tugged at his sleeve until he turned and smiled down at her, showing that he was still with her. Do you know what makes a truly good story, Nina? He asked suddenly. Nina could tell that he was in another place. She decided to treat him like she treated her father, with the sort of patience and softness a parent had for their child. Smiling gently, she shook her head and waited for him to continue. One that is both fantasy and reality, in a world that mirrors ours, so we can understand it, see it, but never go there. But you have gone to that world, my dear. He turned and smiled widely at her, like she'd just told him a very funny joke. I'm not sure. You're human. Nina felt her spine stiffen. I don't understand what you're talking about. He turned away and looked straight ahead, repeating the chant. My mind flickers like a flame on a wick. Answers come to questions unasked, and I am nearly dead. The king paused, almost like he had no choice, like an invisible tether cut him short. You are nearly dead, Nina, and yet you know so much more than you should. My opinion is irrelevant. It is like having, it is like a mouse having an opinion about a lion. He turned and bared his teeth in what only a fool will call a smile. You could crush us all under your paws. Nina studied his profile, wondering if he was absolutely brilliant or completely bonkers. She decided on the latter. Tunni, we're here, he interrupted, letting go of her hand to push open a set of double doors. So, that is A Grim Love Can't Fight Time. It's a lot more serious, and in fact, that book is sort of a fan fiction on Karen Murray Modding's Fever series. I really, really enjoyed that book, writing it, and I consider A Grim Love Can't Fight Time my first real novel. It has a lot of characters, but then again, all of my books have a lot of characters. I like to focus on around 5 to 7 characters at once. In my Peaches series, there's a lot of humor, a lot of funny situations, and I have a lot of characters building this world I'm creating. There are werewolves that she becomes really attached to that pop up in different books. The Feehan Pack, and there's Thea and Lorenzo and their 3 kids. And then there's Luther and Samantha, and they're married, and there's a lot of background for them. And there's Casper and Zeno and their turbulent relationship, and Peaches and Bane. So I have a lot of different characters, and I try to give them each time and their own individual voices. In my Grimm Love series, I do the same thing. There's Nina and Grimm being the main characters. And actually, what you'll notice is that in my Grimm Love series, it's third person, omniscient, um, with a closeness to Nina, and then it switches also to Grimm. So I have those two character perspectives. For my Peaches series, I write it in first person and I follow Peaches. So it's a very narrow lens. All of my books have a lot of my own humor, even if they're a little bit darker, like my Grimm Love series. Um, so yeah, I think I'm mainly done. I would love to hear back from you to see if this was helpful, if you enjoyed the books, what you think I can do better next time if I end up doing another video chat. I really, really hope you all will check out my books. Please, please tweet me or Facebook me to ask me questions. Again, it's Rosi S Phillips. It's at Rosi S Phillips. Capital R, capital S. And then you can also check out my Facebook page. If you look up Rosi S Phillips, you'll find me. My name is also a little bit weird because I spelled it differently. It's R-O-S-I, Rosi, R-O-S-I. Middle name S, Phillips, Phillips. So I look forward to hearing back from you. And Alex, I hope this was helpful. Bye.